Day 17, getting the eyes to work. So you've got your child, you've realised they've spent their whole life sitting on an iPad or something, and their eyes really don't work. They haven't developed all sorts of things, and we've got to get the eyes moving. And this can start quite early on when you're working with the child. So off we go. So we have to get the eyes opening as wide as possible and the eyes moving as widely as possible. And we need to get the eyes moving separately to the head. A lot of children, you ask them to look over here, they'll turn. And you try to get a ball or something, get them to follow the ball. See how many times they make an involuntary movement of their head and body. We have to get it to the point where their eyes can move entirely separately to their head. And they move widely. A lot of children who are working all day on Kindles, iPads, etc., they've got very, very narrow eye movements. We've got to get them moving. So your eyes all come fully equipped with a set of muscles, and those muscles need to be exercised. And to begin with, you need to do it gently, as in you're just getting them to move their eyes. And as we go on, it's going to get wider and wider. We want to get the full extreme, as though they are hunter-gatherers who might be eaten any moment. So we've got to get those muscles working. It's worth going and finding a good diagram, really understanding that the eyes have got tremendously strong muscles and they need to be worked. They're not something that just sits there and does nothing. They're not teddies. So getting the eyes moving evenly and equally. And to begin with, children really don't know how to use their eye muscles, a lot of them. So we're going to get them winking with one eye, then the other eye. And that's important because you're getting all the facial muscles working. Getting your facial muscles working is important because, if nothing else, it enables you to empathise with other people. It's important you're able to express your full range of emotions. Some children work on one side and have virtually no movement on the other. And it's going to take you a long time to get them moving, but you have to try and keep trying, because everybody can get control of their facial muscles and their eye muscles. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to squeeze eyes closed, count to 10, and then open them really wide. So getting that feeling of very wide open, really tightly squeezed closed. And little children are quite happy to play this sort of stuff. To keep people entertained and make it playful, one of the things I play with children is there's a tiger in the room. And you've got to look carefully for the tiger all around the room, but you mustn't move your head. Because as long as you stay really still and the eyes move, the tigers are not going to pounce. But if you move your body a bit, and of course you can play this for a few seconds, and then the adult just goes on. Doesn't work if a child's nervous. You have to have quite robust children to play it. But you can think of something that's less daunting. You want to get the child to the point where they like playing a game which involves moving their eyes, because then they will naturally just repeat and repeat all day, which is less exhausting than nagging them. Another problem you're going to encounter is you can't hold the child still at all. And what I would suggest you do is get a piece of string and put on the end of the string a tennis ball or something else. You could even mark it with a cross or something, so you've got something definite to focus on. But to be honest, just an object is fine to begin with. You're going to have it dangling from the ceiling, and it's going to be a bit above the child's head, and the child is going to follow the object. And while you are able to hold the child's head still. So the child is right underneath and the object is swinging, because that enables you to be able to have a moving object for you to watch the eyes and for you to hold the child's head still. Often couples work together, but it's one way of getting things moving, because you've got to get the child's eyes moving, and particularly if you're working with children where you've got big problems with sound and motor skills, this may be the only way of doing it. Following a favourite toy is also a good strategy. So keeping the child's head still and the child follows the toy back and forth, whatever the child will follow. So I can be working with non-verbal children. The only thing the child follows is mother. I hold the head. Mum runs backwards and forwards slowly. And the child will move their eyes and get that feeling of moving their eyes separate to their head. You basically do anything. So learning to wink can take a long time. I see it particularly with children in care, where when they're babies, nobody is going, wah, 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 and there's no facial game going on when they're tiny. They've been pushed from pillar to post. And, you know, people have ticked boxes, but they haven't done what a baby really needs, is lots of blip, 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 blip. And so a lot of that facial muscle development that would have happened when you were tiny babies isn't happening. And they need to get their facial muscles working. And they may have virtually no control over them. So best thing to do to start with is squeeze both eyes closed and feel your face, feel, and really get them to bring their facial muscles up. Really tight squeeze, so they're really feeling them with their fingers. And then one eye is going to be held closed. You're going to really help that eye stay closed while you open the other eye. And they're going to feel that, and they're going to feel the other eye opening, and they're going to feel, and you're going to keep trying to get them to feel those eye muscles until they can hold it in consciously or change sides, and they've got control of those muscles. With children who have been really deprived of attention, that might take you a year, but it is well worth doing because you're getting complete control over all muscles. That enables them to do all sorts of more sophisticated things. It really improves social skills. So really think about it. It's really important and it's worth the effort. So eyes are really difficult to work with because you can't see your eyes. I'm in quite an exceptional situation. Here I am chatting away to myself and I can see my eye movements pretty much. And certainly afterwards, I'll be able to see them. And it's looking at film of your own eye movements is very, very powerful. And so your mobile phone technology is fantastic because it's so easy for a child to see what their eye movements look like, to see what your eye movements look like and think, oh, I need to make them better. We have had a lot of success with older junior school children and secondary school children where we get two working together and they have to work out how to support the other person with eye movements in order to get that person's eyes moving smoothly. So they're just doing simple eye exercises, but they're doing it in pairs. Because they're working with somebody else's eyes, they're really having to think, okay, no, really concentrate. You've got to hold this eye, you've got to move it across, no. And they are thinking about it, they're filming it, they're supporting the person. But while they're doing that, in their own heads, they're understanding how their own eye muscles work. So that when two work together, they can much more easily get control of their eye muscles. It is really good, and we've seen children sort out things like nystagmus, quite serious things, very cheaply. So, and they're much more persistent, and of course you reward them, you give them badges for team endeavour, whatever, but you get the visual problem sorted. Some children are not sending messages from eye to brain, and you don't know that. So sort of things you need to do, and it's worth spending a bit of time doing, is having a look. Can they pick things up with one eye, put pegs in a board, put pegs on a line, put pencils in holes, whatever? Can they do the same thing with the other eye? Is there a difference between the two eyes? And you can do a lot of work doing exercises where you're using longer and longer ropes to put pegs on lines or putting pencils in holes. with both hands and each eye, and you're working to make sure that each eye is processing everything within a normal visual range. It is that kind of agitation that is going to get good links from eye to brain. Really important. For those children who are great wrigglers and you're not really sure, patching one eye using a torch. You've both got a torch, you're leading and they've got to follow your torch. You can see what they're processing. You see whether they're working within a narrow range or whether they're out to a wider range. It's quite good feedback. Anything which is telling you our message is going from eye to brain. Important. So once we've got basic movement, what we're going to look at tomorrow is getting wider movement. But if you don't get the eyes moving in the head, there's not a lot point going on further. So that first step is getting that control of the basic eye muscles. Whatever you do, if you work with eyes separately, and there are times you patch with one, you patch the other, you want to have a look at each individual eye, you want to make sure both are working properly. But whatever you do, if you've got two eyes, whatever you do with one eye, you do with the other eye. Eyes need to strengthen together. If you think, oh, this is a lazy eye, I'm going to do all my work on this one, what you'll do is you'll reverse the problem. You must make sure they're equal. And we want to get them working equally. Yeah, really important. I want to highlight it otherwise. So tomorrow we're going to go through more complex eye exercises. Here are my contact details. Here's the details of sound therapy equipment, which does agitate the inner ears, which gets the optic nerve working better. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.